I've been waiting for about 4 or 5 years for a new edition of The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall to be republished. Actually, this isn't a new edition. This is simply a fresh printing of the Jubilee edition, which was published in 1988 for the 75th anniversary. I guess the 100 years will be in 2025, but I just didn't want to wait until then. I'm sure there'll be a pretty new edition then, but right now I just wanted a nice edition of the Secret Teachings of All Ages. And you'll notice that that's not the title that's on the front here, right? It's called Masonic, Hermetic, Kabbalistic and Rosicrucian Symbolical Philosophy by Manly P. Hall. But you get the well-known title along the spine here in a very nice gold stamp. So when I found out a couple of months ago that the Philosophical Research Society were doing a new printing, and I found out literally within a day, I can't remember if it was a day earlier or a day later, that Taschen were doing a full size, half-meter tall edition, which of course is the original size of this book, right? This version is about 34 centimeters tall, something along those lines. So it's shelf friendly, okay? It's about as tall as those Taschen books over there. So this actually fits on my shelf, and this is the size that I've been wanting. And I just wanted to give you an idea of how lovely this is on the inside. So I'm wondering whether to actually introduce what this is. The book is so well known. It's an absolute classic. Some people do question how perfect the information herein might be, but to be honest with you, it is far more accurate than so much that I've seen out there. You could do much worse than to read through this entire book and then adapt the small problems that there may or may not be inside here. There is so much information here. It's incredible. I just zoomed in here on the description of this picture for a couple of reasons. First of all, just to show you that this really is the format of the book. You're getting a very large picture, and then underneath the picture, you're getting a full description of every one of the symbols that appears in that picture. And these pictures are just dense with symbolism. It's really extraordinary. There are many pictures. I mean, it's every, I'm going to say every 4 pages, every 5 pages, these are all pictures that you've seen, they're, when you do a Google search for anything esoteric, these are the pictures that turn up, they're very, very well known. And let me just show you, we're turning 1 page, 2 pages, and there's another one, okay? Turning 1 page, and 2 pages, and there's another one. As I say, you're recognizing these pictures, aren't you? Of course you are. Really an essential book, absolutely a classic. I just want to show you some of the pictures that are so well recognized, and this one, for example, I remember seeing this one about 10 years ago and being completely baffled as to what those symbols could possibly be. There's clearly some meaning in these symbols, but I had no idea what those symbols might be. It's just simply all described at the bottom here, right? The hand of the mysteries, every single one of those symbols is described. And then you get a full chapter going into the esoteric teachings surrounding that particular concept or whatever it might be. It's very, very comprehensive. Honestly, for many people, this is the only esoteric book that they'll ever need. It's Just outstanding. Talking about the size of the book, I was concerned that having this reduced size, which is already very large, but I wouldn't want it any larger than that, because then it becomes unwieldy, and then it's an effort to take it out. It's heavy. It's just unwieldy, right? And that very, very large size of the original. I've seen it live. I think it was at the Embassy of the Free Mind in Amsterdam. I saw the original, and it was just enormous and just completely impractical. So I wanted this smaller edition, but I was worried that the writing would then become too small. But as you can see, the font isn't enormous, but it's far from too small. The only time when it does become, and really it is too small, is in the description of the pictures. However, if I just get a little bit closer, you'll be able to see what is visible under a magnifying glass. And I've actually been reading these with a magnifying glass, but you can see that with the help of a mobile phone, the font is very clear. It's very very nice, despite being in that kind of not computerized font. It's more of a letterpress font. It is very, very clear, very easy to read. So that's not a problem at all, actually, for me. I'd rather have something where I have to get a little bit closer to be able to read it, or simply take out my magnifying glass. A little down note, maybe a little criticism. Actually, maybe not so little. I got this shipped over to me from the United States, and the shipping cost $93.57, which is not negligible. And I received it 2 months later. Right, they'd sent it via regular USPS in a flimsy envelope. Flimsy envelope. There was bubble wrap around it, but the only structure to that envelope was the book itself. It arrived in fine shape, but it's not been uncommon for me to receive books in flimsy envelopes, and for the corners to be completely folded over. And actually, this Christmas, I received a book from Amazon. Amazon, I wouldn't expect anything much better from Amazon. They're well known for mistreating their books. They sent their books in this one, right? The National Gallery pictures. I received the first one of this that I received actually had the spine was broken, right? It was so broken that it had overlapped over the rest of the spine. There was this big bump. So I had to send that one back. I would have been devastated to have had to spend another 2 months sending this back, and then a further 2 months getting it back. I don't feel that for $93 that was the right call. They're also guilty of another massive sin in my eyes, was that on the envelope, rather in the description of the contents of the package, instead of just writing book, right, which gets parcels through customs fast because non-English speakers know the word book. Instead of just writing book, they wrote The Secret Teachings of All Ages, which then, caused actually a whole investigation, which then cost me a further $20, right, which I had to pay for, of course. So yeah, not happy at all with the shipping process of this. However, if you can pick this up from a reseller in your area, or maybe if you live in the United States, and the process of shipping is going to be much simpler, of course, within the United States, then you'll have no problems whatsoever. But yes, I am absolutely delighted with the final product here. Maybe I can show you a quick overview of the contents page, which will give you an idea of the type of information that is in here. These are the illustrations, and you can see that these are the illustrations within the text. These are the small illustrations, right? Those little black and white illustrations that appear within the text. But here is a table of the color plates. You can see that there are a lot Yeah. And then here are the titles of the chapters, and I'll just go through this very, very slowly so that you can get an idea. It starts off with the ancient mysteries, right, going through Egypt and Greek and Mithraic and so on, and yeah, it builds up basically because it's going through the whole of the Western tradition. I guess it's mostly from a Masonic perspective, so I suppose it makes sense that it's looking at the origins of all of these symbols, which are so central to the Masonic set of symbols, right? So you can get a general look at how all of that is laid out. And then at the end, of course, there's this fantastic index, which is very exhaustive. There's a huge bibliography. It's exactly what you would hope for from such a comprehensive resource, right? You can look up a word or a symbol that you're not sure of, and it'll send you to the right page, and then a little description of the Philosophical Research Society. And right at the beginning, maybe a final little word about the way the book opens. There are a number of introductions here. There's the preface to the Diamond Jubilee edition from 1988, which you can see here, actually penned by Manly P. Hall himself. Then there's an original foreword. Then there's a preface to the Golden Anniversary edition. Maybe a little word here. Henry L. Drake, Vice President of the Philosophical Research Society, wrote the little foreword there. So this is the preface to the Golden Anniversary edition, the 50-year anniversary edition, right, 1975. And then another preface. And that's when you get the actual table of contents. There we are. It's enormous. It's essential. For me, this is the right format. Some of you may be put off by how small the writing is. That's about how it feels in real life. I mean, of course, it depends on the size of the screen that you're watching this on, right? But you can see my finger next to this, and you get an idea of the size of that text. It is quite small, but getting a little bit closer, it's perfectly clear. If you want to hold out for a larger edition, well, there's the Taschen edition, of course, which has just been printed for 5 times the price of this one. I think it's $500, right? This one's $110. But of course, it's absolutely magnificent. But many people who've received their copies say that they don't have a space for it. You know, they don't have a shelf large enough for it. It is 0.5 meter tall. It's just gigantic. So for me, this is the right edition. It's perfect in every way, and the one aspect that isn't perfect, which is the description of the images, can be enhanced very well with a magnifying glass to see how clear that small writing in fact is. There we are. That's my review of The Secret Teachings of All Ages. I hope you enjoyed the review. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up, subscribe down below. Check out all the ways in which you can support the channel. There's a Patreon. I'll read your tarot and so on and so forth. To find out all about that, down in the description down below. I thank you so much for watching the review, and I'll see you very soon with another video. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.